The Revolutionary Stick, when Paris ignited a new world. Chapter 1: The Kingdom Before the Fire. In a time long before you and I were born, grand city of Paris sparkled like a jewel in the heart of Europe. With its towering cathedrals and winding river, Paris was a city of dreams. But like many dreams, it had its shadows too. Imagine grand palaces filled with glittering chandeliers, where men and women dressed in the finest silks and satins danced the night away. They laughed, they sang, they feasted on the most delicious foods. This was the life of the royalty and the rich, a life of grandeur and opulence. But outside these palaces, life was very different. The streets of Paris were home to the common people, the bakers, the shoemakers, the farmers, and many more. These folks wore simple clothes, worked hard every day, and often went to bed with empty stomachs, while the rich dined on banquets. Many in Paris wondered where their next meal would come from. You see, in this kingdom, there was a huge gap between the rich and the poor. The royalty and the nobles lived in luxury, while the common people struggled each day. And as the years went by, this gap only grew wider. Chapter 2: Whispers of Change. It all started as quiet conversation. In the bustling markets where merchants sold their wares, in the cozy corners of candlelit taverns, and even in the shadows of grand cathedrals, people began to talk. "Why do we suffer while the nobles feast?" asked one. "Why can't we have a say in how things are run?" wondered another. These weren't just idle chats. These were the early sounds of people wanting change. They believed in a new France, where everyone, be they rich or poor, noble or common, had a voice. They dreamed of fairness, of justice, and of a life free from hunger and hardship. Among these voices were thinkers and writers, who spoke of liberty, equality, and brotherhood. They wrote books and pamphlets, sharing their ideas of a world where power wasn't just for the kings and queens but for everyone. The ideas spread like wildfire, and soon, what started as whispers became loud discussions. Chapter 3: The Revolutionary Stick Makes Its Mark. Now you might wonder, what's a revolutionary stick? It wasn't just any old stick. It was a symbol, a sign of change. You see, during this time, symbols were powerful. They brought people together, united in a common cause. And in a world without tea or internet, symbols were a way to spread a message far and wide. The revolutionary stick was one such symbol. It was said that when someone was ready to stand up for the new France, they'd draw a line on the ground using this stick. This line was a promise, a commitment to fight for a better future. Soon, all across Paris and beyond, lines were being drawn. It was no longer about just the nobles and the commoners. It was about the old ways versus the new, the past versus the future. The revolutionary stick had set the stage for a massive change, and France would never be the same again. Chapter 4: The Bastille and the Bells of Freedom. Remember those grand buildings where the nobles danced and laughed? Well, there was another imposing structure in Paris. This one wasn't filled with laughter. It was the Bastille, a mighty fortress that loomed over the city, casting a long, dark shadow. Bastille wasn't just a castle, it was a prison where many unfortunate souls were locked away, some for reasons they didn't even know. One summer day, as the sun blazed down on Paris, a massive crowd gathered outside the Bastille. They weren't there to admire its tall towers or thick walls. No, they were there with a purpose. They were there to take it down. Why the Bastille, you ask? Because for many, it was a symbol of everything that was wrong. Its tall, dark silhouette represented the king's power, nobles' control, and the many secrets that were hidden away from the people. The crowd outside shouted and sang, their voices echoing off the stone walls. They demanded the release of prisoners, they called for justice, and they clamored for change. And then, with a force that surprised even themselves, they stormed the mighty fortress. Stone by stone, brick by brick, the Bastille was taken apart. The fall of the Bastille was more than just a demolition of stone and mortar. It was a message, a clear sign to the rulers that the people of France were ready for change, and they wouldn't be stopped. Chapter 5: A Nation's Heartbeat, the Assembly. With the fall of the Bastille, the winds of change swept through France. The whispers of the past became the rallying cries of the present. The revolutionary stick, which was once a mere symbol, was now a real force, pushing the nation forward. People of France, united in their quest for a better future, formed the National Assembly. Think of this assembly as a giant gathering, where representatives from all over France came together. They weren't kings or nobles, they were everyday folks, just like the bakers and farmers of Paris. And they had a dream of a France where all men were equal. where voices from every corner of the land were heard. Together, they began crafting a constitution, a set of rules that would shape the new France. It spoke of liberty, of rights, and of the freedom to live without fear, and at its heart lay the core principles that the Revolution had been. Born from liberty, equality, fraternity. Chapter 6: The Reign of Fire and the Rise of Hope. But change, especially one so vast, is never easy. As the National Assembly tried to reshape the country, there were many who resisted. The next few years saw France caught in a whirlwind. There were celebrations, yes, but also struggles. There were moments of unity, but also deep divisions. A city that once danced to the tunes of royal banquets now echoed with the cries of revolution. The streets, which once buzzed with daily life, became stages for rallies, protests, and, unfortunately, even violence. King Louis XVI, the then ruler of France, found himself in a tough spot, and amidst the chaos, he was imprisoned and eventually met a fate none had imagined: the guillotine. The same went for many nobles, their end marked by the sharp blade of revolution. Yet, even in these dark times, the flame of hope never flickered out. People of France, even as they grappled with the challenges of their new reality, never lost sight of their dream. A dream of a nation united, of a land where every voice counted, and of a future where every child, be it in Paris or the farthest village, could live a life of dignity and freedom. Such were the tumultuous times of the French Revolution, a period when Paris truly set the world on fire, not with flames, but with ideas. Ideas that spoke of freedom, of equality, and of a world where power rested, not with kings or queens, but with the people. Chapter 7: A Whisper called Robespierre. In our story, amidst the heroes and the ideals, there also lurked shadows. One such shadow was a man named Maximilien Robespierre. Remember him? He was a slender, well-spoken man who rose to power during the most intense days of the Revolution. Now, Robespierre wasn't always seen as a shadow. In the beginning, many saw him as a beacon of hope. He passionately spoke about liberty and believed in the Revolution's ideals. But as time went on, his methods became, let's say, questionable. You see, Robespierre started to believe that, for the Revolution to truly succeed, its enemies needed to be removed, and so the Reign of Terror began. Anyone who was even suspected of being against the Revolution was arrested, and many faced the guillotine. The very revolution that had started as a cry for freedom now seemed to be taking away that very freedom from its people. Chapter 8: The Turning Tides. As days turned into months, many in France began to realize that the Revolution, under leaders like Robespierre, had taken a dark turn. The same squares where children once played now witnessed the relentless fall of the guillotine's blade. But remember, the spirit of the French people wasn't one to be suppressed. Just as they had risen against the oppression of the king and the nobles, they now rose against the tyranny of their own leaders. Robespierre's reign came to an end, and with it, the most violent days of the Revolution. The French people, having learned from their mistakes, began rebuilding their nation with renewed hope and wisdom. Chapter 9: The Dawn of a New Era. With the shadows of the past behind them, France embarked on a new journey. They formed a government where the power was shared, ensuring that no single person could ever again wield unchecked authority. The Revolution had changed France forever. The palaces and grandeur remained, but now every brick, every stone, and every corner of France echoed with the voices of its people. The spirit of liberty, equality, and fraternity was now deeply ingrained in the heart of the nation. People sang songs of the Revolution, of the heroes, and even the villains, for they all played a part in shaping the history of France. Children in the streets of Paris played games, reenacting the storming of the Bastille, and families gathered around fires to share stories of those tumultuous times. Yes, the Revolution had its dark days, but it also brought with it lessons that would guide not just France, but nations and people across the world. The idea that power belongs to the people, that freedom is a birthright, and that every voice, no matter how small, deserves to be heard. Through the smoke and flames, through the cries of despair and songs of hope, the French Revolution remains a testament to the indomitable spirit of the people and their undying quest for a better tomorrow. The end. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the next piece. Please give a like and subscribe. Thank you.